Welcome, everybody, to the Soul of the Unexplained. I bet some of you have probably forgot we were even here, but we're just going to do a little recap, a quick recap of the awesome year that was 2023. And I'm so happy to say that joining me today is my always awesome co host, Mr. Roger Stokes. He is the cool guy in the shades. Say hey, Raj.
Hey Raj, just kidding. Hey guys, hey Jim, super glad to be here. Definitely have missed being able to post frequently. We're gonna get into that and kind of jump into what's happened here the second half of the year since PhenomeCon. But I am very grateful to be here and super excited to kind of jump into our topic. So thank you for listening.
Right on. So the big elephant in the room, folks, is where have we been? Why have we kind of gone AWOL, you would say? Well, regrettably, we do have some reasons for it, and not all of them are what I would call happy or cheerful circumstances. So we'll dive into that right away. Obviously, the last video that we posted here for the Soul of the Unexplained was while I was at PhenomeCon. In fact, my PhenomeCon Day 3 recap was the last one that I was able to post, and didn't get to do much after that. And so, what happened on my end, the reason why I was unable to do any of the postings was, for starters, I actually attended PhenomeCon. Roger was not able to be with me, and I'll let Roger talk about that. But I actually suffered a minor injury while I was at PhenomeCon, and we thought it was just a simple flare up of a sciatic nerve. And if you're somebody who's ever had to deal with the sciatic nerve pain, it's really painful, and in some really difficult instances, it makes it nearly impossible for you to walk, let alone to be able to get up and down from a seated position and whatnot. And so, for those of you that attended PhenomeCon and were wondering why I didn't sit in one place for very long, that's why I had this issue developing in my lower back. Well, it gradually got worse and worse as the days progressed, and I returned home from PhenomeCon, and I ended up having to fly back to New York for a while to, I guess you would say, repatriate the remains of my mother and father. Those of you know that I'm a native New Yorker, born and raised in upstate New York, and as were my mom and dad. And both my mom and dad passed recently, and their uh, last wish was to be laid to rest in their home state of New York. So, beginning of October, I flew out to New York with my wife and my children, and we were able to take care of that. And while I was there in New York, I was still experiencing the same problem with my lower back, and it just kind of nothing I was doing, and none of the doctor's advice that they gave me for it was making the pain any easier. So I had to go about my thing there, and then of course I came back from New York, and I for 2 years, in the instance of my mother anyway, my mom passed away 2 years ago, and my father just a little over a year ago, and I'd had to put the grief that I had been experiencing of their passing. I had to hold it at bay for basically 2 years because I was appointed the executor of their estate, and so I didn't want to let my emotions get the better of me because I had so much things to take care of with the estate regarding insurance and financial stuff and all the other unpleasant tasks that are associated with dealing with the fallout of the passing of a loved one. So when I got back from New York, that massive wall of grief that I had been holding at bay literally came crashing down on me like a tidal wave, and had to take about a month, a little over a month, for me to get my head to where I was ready to get back into the swing of things and do stuff. And regrettably, during that time, my back got worse to the extent that I actually ended up going to the hospital to have it looked at. And somewhere in there, I actually had another flare up of a kidney stone as well. I tell you, folks, I have the worst luck when it comes to kidney stones. Um, so we found out this time after getting an MRI that I did, in fact, actually have a problem with several of the vertebrae in my lumbar region, and rather severe injury. And so for about the last 7 or 8 weeks, actually, maybe even closer to 9 weeks, I've been unable to sit upright. I've been unable to walk without extreme, excruciating pain. At times, I've needed assistance in walking. So for about the last 2 months, give or take, I've been spending probably 90% of my time in bed, not being able to do much of anything. And you can imagine how much that has impacted my life, impacted my happiness, my overall health. And so today, I got myself prepared and loaded up, and I'm sitting upright right now, but I'm not sure how long I'm going to be able to continue doing that. If you see me wincing in pain, you'll know why. But we're determined to get this recorded before the end of the year because we're just a couple days away from 2024 knocking on our door. So that's why I haven't been as available. And if those of you that are friends with me on Facebook know that my posts have been kind of few and far between, and I haven't been able to sit upright at a computer like this, either a desktop or my laptop, to do any of this. So this is really the first time in a long time that I've been able to get myself to be able to do this. So Raj, that's enough about me, where why I haven't been around. So tell us what's been going on with you.
Yeah, so this has definitely been kind of a crazy year for me personally as well. But looking back, so Jim and I, we did our pre-PhenomeCon rundown and the different classes and shows and events that we wanted to do. I was really excited. Um, I do work for a day job, and the week prior to PhenomeCon, I had to conduct some business internationally. And so I was out in Dublin, Ireland, the week preceding PhenomeCon. And unfortunately, as things do happen in this world, my mother passed away unexpectedly. So I immediately got on a flight, came home, and the crazy thing that happened there was that I caught COVID. So there was no way I could attend PhenomeCon because I had COVID, and two, my mother had passed away. And so, being that it was unexpected, that took up a lot of my time and attention going into the latter half of the year. And once I was able to get through that, really busy at work and with everything that Jim had going on, we just were not able to connect and really get to the topics and things that we wanted to. And then just recently, things, again, things happen. You don't know why, and there may not be an answer in this life. But my nephew, who's 22 years old, passed away as well. And we will be doing a funeral for him tomorrow, just before the new year. So, as you can see, both Jim and I, we've been through a lot personally, professionally. And these things, of course, have very real impacts on our families and our lives. But in talking with Jim, we are committed to this podcast. We really love this topic, and as we've discussed, as the soul of the unexplained, right? We want to destigmatize just what paranormal means, whatever it may be. You guys, right? We've all had things happen to us that we just science can't explain, and that's why Jim and I got into this in the first place, because we're fascinated by it. We've had things that happen to both of us that we just don't have explanations for. But we are pursuing that truth. We're pursuing the unknown. And we're not going to let, these things, life continues to happen, right? And I would encourage everybody to take the time that you need to process whatever happens in your family life, personal life, professional life. But Jim and I are committed to pushing this forward and looking forward to 2024. And so we'll talk about that in a little bit. But Jim, do you want to help us recap some of our favorite parts of the year?
Absolutely, I think that's a great way to start. And I got to tell you, folks, nobody can take that 1-2 punch that life throws at you better than Mr. Roger Stokes there. Raj, you are just a absolute great example of just inner strength and being able to overcome some of the ugliness that life has thrown at you. You have nothing but my profound respect and admiration for being able to get through it as well, and regrettably as often as you do, man. You and I both, what a pair, man, right?
Yeah, no, we both same right here back at you. We've both been through the ringer and back, and I think what doesn't kill us makes us stronger. So
that
we're here.
that's right. You got it. So, folks, we're just going to do a quick recap of where things have gone for the Soul of the Unexplained since January of 2023. And we figure the best place to start, probably one of the most significant developments and places of growth for our podcast, has been the fact that in January of 2023, Roger and I made the decision to make the migration from all of our podcasts being audio only, hosted on Mixcloud. And of course, our first several episodes are still available on Mixcloud to watch. Well, not to watch, but to listen to in audio only format. But in January, we made the switch of moving from Mixcloud to YouTube so that you guys could see at least my ugly mug and Roger's much better looking, handsome mug in real time there. But of course, that was with episode number 8, and our guest for that particular episode was the always awesome and our very dear friend, Mr. Jeff Freeman, who hosts the J Free 906 podcast right here on YouTube. And just got to give a shout out to Jeff. He has been such a great friend and such a great colleague, and just an all around decent human being. In this past time at PhenomeCon, I got to spend a lot of time with Jeff and his wonderful girlfriend, Christina, who is every bit as awesome and wonderful as Jeff. And so if you haven't had a chance yet, folks, please check out Jeff Freeman's YouTube channel. It's JFree906. He does great content constantly about things like the Curse of Oak Island TV show, The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch, Beyond Skinwalker Ranch, and all kinds of great, interesting topics that Jeff does a really good job of researching. And his community engagement regarding people that are in live chats that can interact with him and his guests live during his podcast is unparalleled. He's one of the best ones out there, and we are so blessed and honored to consider him not only our colleague but our friend. So he was our first one to help us move into the realm of YouTube, as it were. And so since Jeff, we have had 7 subsequent full-length episodes, meaning podcast episodes that are 90 minutes to 2 hours or so since January. And some of our guests featured the wonderful author Cheryl Lynn Carter was the one that we interviewed after Jeff. And then after that, we had Bridget Lake, who was one of the organizers of the amazing PhenomeCon conference that happens every September in Vernal, Utah. We had her on early in the spring, I think along about April or so, to talk about what a wonderful thing and how the great guests that were in line to appear at PhenomeCon 2023. And then after we had Bridget Lake, there was a pretty significant thing that happened in June. And of course, that was the bombshell whistleblower testimony interview that David Grusch, a former high-ranking U.S. intelligence official, gave a truly extraordinary and jaw-dropping interview with Ross Coulthart, a very famous Australian journalist, investigative journalist who has been on 60 Minutes a number of times. And he did an interview that was hosted on News Nation. And in that interview, David Grusch, among other things, as we all know, talked about the existence of a above top secret UFO crash retrieval program that the United States has been secretly, and some would argue illegally, unconstitutionally, have been running a program of that sort going back possibly as early as the 1930s and maybe even earlier than that, that operates above oversight of Congress, and so much so that not even every president of the United States has been read into it. And of course, also part of those allegations that Mr. Grusch brought out was that not only is there a crash retrieval program, but that there have been reverse engineering going on for obviously technical advantage. And the biggest one of all is that, as they term the phrase, biological, non-human intelligent beings were also recovered with some of these UFOs or UAPs, indicating that quite obviously we are not alone here on planet Earth. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later, but that was a big one. And Roger and I, we did a little episode talking about Grusch's testimony right after that. And then in July, of course, the other big development was that David Grusch, David Fravor, and Ryan Graves, the latter two of which are former pilots for, I believe, the Navy, and they both had their own encounters with UAPs. Of course, David Fravor, he was one of the pilots involved and had firsthand, eyes-on experience with the famous Tic Tac incident that happened in 2004 as part of the USS Nimitz carrier group. And so he was one of the people, one of the pilots that actually engaged the 2004 Tic Tac UAP incident. And then Ryan Graves was on the East Coast a couple years later, and his flight group saw very close up. They saw the UFO that was traveling, was like a sphere, a cube traveling inside of a sphere rather, traveling at a, doing all the same crazy type of impossible maneuvers and whatnot. So you had two, in my opinion, unimpeachable eyewitnesses in both Graves and Fravor. And then you had David Grusch, who so many people have been trying to throw this guy under the bus and prove that he's false. And so far, every attempt to disprove Grusch and to expose him as a fraud has failed gloriously. So by all accounts, and here we are at the end of 2023, and so far, David Grusch still appears to be the most credible witness, the most credible whistleblower that has ever come forward to the public realm, I guess you would say. So, and then when the congressional hearing happened in July, Roger was unable to join me, so I was able to get one of our friends and supporters of our podcast, the always awesome May, and she did 2 episodes with me for kind of like a primer for the congressional hearing, and then a day or so after, we did a follow-up to recap all the amazing stuff that happened during that congressional hearing. And so then a little bit after that, we did, Roger and I, as we talked about a moment ago, we did a primer video for everybody that was going to be attending PhenomeCon, where we talked about how to get the most out of the PhenomeCon experience. And that was a pretty popular episode of ours, we're happy to say, and got a lot of great feedback about it. And what was really cool is I got to meet a lot of the people at PhenomeCon that watched that primer video, and that was their first introduction to us, was via that PhenomeCon primer video. And so that kind of was the last full-length episode of a podcast that we did for 2023. And of course, when I got to PhenomeCon, and regrettably Roger was unable to join me for the reasons that he's already outlined, and it was really strange for me, Raj, because I didn't have you there. I felt, I didn't have my wingman, didn't have my buddy there. It was kind of weird at times, but I was able to do 7 shorter videos just to kind of recap each day that I was there and the different activities that I saw, and all the great things that I'd learned. Talked about some of the great people that I had met while I was there, and so those short little video excerpts that I recorded while I was at PhenomeCon was really kind of the last time that we posted anything prior to this one today. So let's Raj, let's kind of segue into just kind of real quickly talk about what we think some of the biggest stories were that are in the realm of things that we discuss. And I figure we'll start with one that not many people know about. You may have heard me refer to it. If you were at PhenomeCon, you actually heard me tell the story of this particular incident, but I don't talk about it much because it's still a bit of a difficult and well, I'll say it's still a little bit of a traumatic experience for me, but um, in the spring of 2023, as you know, if you've been following us ever since the beginning, I've never really had a whole lot of what I would call paranormal experiences happen to me. To this day, I've still never seen a UFO or anything of that nature. I've never seen a Bigfoot. Although I'm told when I don't have my shirt on, I can be mistaken for Bigfoot because I got a lot of hair on my
And
back.
you're just a big teddy bear, that's
I'm a
all.
descendant from the Vikings, so you know what the heck, right? But in all seriousness, in the spring, completely out of the blue and unexpected, and I'm still trying to put some logic and reasoning to it because I still don't have any. And what happened is I had my first ever encounter with a shadow being, and it wasn't just an encounter; it was really I still don't know how to accurately describe it except to say um, it's unlike anything I'd ever experienced before or since. And it was an instance of this shadow being. I clearly got the impression, and I'm still left with the impression that somehow this shadow being knew me, and has been with me for an awful lot of time, going clear back to my youth. And just was one of those things that was kind of like, here you go. The paranormal is really real. And I've talked to a couple of experts about it, and I've learned some interesting things. And one of the things that shocked me the most was finding out that I'm not the only person out there who had not just a similar experience with a shadow being. And in this instance, those of you that know a little bit about shadow beings, this would be what is it's a type of shadow person that a lot of people refer to as Hat Man. And in the time since, I've talked to at least half a dozen people, and one of whom is a very, very good friend of mine, who had their own very similar Hat Man experience, where this shadow being appears to them and does not appear to be there for what I would say are benevolent purposes. In fact, in my instance, I got the distinct impression that it was there to menace, to harass, if not outright cause me some kind of harm. And for that reason, I still don't like to go into a lot of great detail about it, but that was kind of how my my 2023 got off to a really weird start. And this would have been what, Raj? Probably I think sometime back in March or April.
Yeah, March, April timeframe.
I have to go back and check uh, my loggings where you and I talked about that the first time. But that was kind of like the first thing that kicked off 2023 for me. And the next thing would be Raj. Obviously, one of the things that we love doing here at this show is talking about the Secret of Skinwalker Ranch, the docu series that's on the History Channel that basically shows the research that goes on out there at Skinwalker Ranch here in our great state of Utah. And this past season was, of course, season 4. And there were some pretty amazing and noteworthy things that happened uh, during the Secret of Skinwalker Ranch season 4. So, what are some of your takeaways of some of the highlights for you of what happened with the Secret of Skinwalker Ranch season 4?
Yeah, no, I did. Taking a look at season 4, you know, you get into the fourth season of anything, right, on television, um, and sometimes, depending on the show, you might not. It might get a little complex. It might not make a lot of sense, or storyline, things like that. But what I think is really good about season 4, and the scientists and everyone else that's working out there, is that they did a lot of, um, not only were they, I guess, continuing on with their scientific work, but it really answered a lot of questions about UFOs, UAPs, especially like with the different hypotheses that they have had. And it was really great to see that they were thinking outside of the box, um, for things inside, or like the by the triangle, other types of rocket launches. I was really, really impressed, and hats off to Cameron Fugel to use him and his helicopter to perform some of these experiences. And just the different types of, I guess, scientific tools that they used, whether it was drone technology, higher camera technology that captured different wavelengths of light. They were able to capture some, what I say is pretty tangible proof that one, there are UAPs coming in and out of the Mesa area, and that there is something going on above the triangle, right above Skinwalker Ranch. Now, I can't definitively say, and neither can the scientists there say that, oh, this is a wormhole or a portal. But based on the evidence, and especially with the loss of time that they tracked and the things that are going on there, it definitely looks to be some type of portal or whatnot. And so I'm really, that those types of things, those were the highlights for me, that they really, right, from season 1, 2, and 3. Season 4 did a lot more of explaining and just using more high-tech equipment to say, here's some of our possible theories, right? And we were seeing things play out that actually made sense. That, right, the ranch, I feel like they made giant leaps in season 4 to get closer to understanding what's out there. Again, I don't think that we're gonna get to the bottom of this anytime soon, but I feel like we're on the right track. And we've talked about this, Jim, before. When it comes to Skinwalker Ranch, and even the people that during um, the Bigelow era that were there, there seems to be an intelligence out there of some type, right? And it feels like they continue, whatever this intelligence may be, is continuing to lead them along, right? Helping them, but not giving them, not just like saying, "Oh, hey, here's what we are. This is what we're doing." But I feel like they're getting those breadcrumbs. They're taking steps forward, and they're doing everything that they can scientifically to make sure that the integrity of the show is intact and their experiments are intact. So it was really great to see. I guess just the dynamic of the team. They're definitely truly brothers and sisters up there. They're a family at this point, and they all really care about what's going on there. So I'm excited for the next season. But season 4 really, I think, tied up a lot of loose threads of what's going on, and just we're going to see some focus not only, I think, underneath the ranch in seasons to come, but also up above, and what specifically is, what if there's a portal, what is it? How does that work? Because certainly, anytime they try to go through that, even in the past seasons, right, something is purposely blocking visible light rays, lasers, telescopes that should be able to see through that. Like, it's just taking everything offline. So I'm excited. Skinwalker, or The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch, is an exciting show for me, but that's just what makes me even more excited for the upcoming season. So those are some of the highlights for me.
I would have to agree with all the highlights that you mentioned, Raj. Excuse me. I think for me, one of the biggest takeaways happened in I think it was the third or fourth episode when they're shooting rockets up through the triangle, and they've come to term it as the blob, but there was clearly an object of some kind, 100% invisible to the naked eye, but yet there was clearly an object of some kind that was there. In some instances, only, what do they say, 31 feet off the ground,
Yeah.
and it was not only interfering with the trajectory of rockets that were being shot up uh, through the triangle area, but it also appeared to actually do something to cause the rocketry, the engines of one or two rockets to outright fail and explode just 31, 35 feet or so once they got off the ground. So um, we've heard for years, well before Brandon Fugel's team got on the ranch, that there were stories of UAPs, UFOs, whatever you want to call them, objects coming in and out of the mesa, seemingly out of nowhere, materializing out of nowhere, or flying into the Mesa. And some of those stories go back decades, if not over 100 years. And a reminder that the whole Uinta Basin that is situated around Skinwalker Ranch is a hotbed of that kind of activity. So these kind of things don't just happen on Skinwalker Ranch. They happen on the adjacent properties and all throughout that region, which is really I don't think there's any place like it in the whole world. And Roger, you and I have spent a great deal of time out in that region, and can attest that there's just a different kind of vibe out there. It's something you can't put into words, but you can feel that there's just a different energy there the moment you enter the region. And again, it's a humongous region, folks. I would probably say larger than the state of Delaware, just as a guess. I mean, it's a huge region,
Yes, it is.
and it encompasses, obviously the Uinta Mountain Range, and all kinds of there's canyons, there's rock formations, but it's also in an area that they call the high desert. So a lot of rich history is out there. Speaking from an anthropological and archaeological standpoint, of course, you had several indigenous tribes that were settled in the area, and there's also stories of civilizations that may have existed there that predate the Utes and the Ore and the Navajo that would have been in the area as well. So yeah, we saw some really fascinating and compelling things on this last season of the season of Skinwalker Ranch, and it was great to see. One of the highlights for me was seeing Jay Stratton come back on the ranch. And for those of you that are longtime followers of our podcast, know that Roger and I are big fans of two of the better known books that were written about the enigma known as Skinwalker Ranch, and that would be The Hunt for the Skinwalker, which came out in 2005, 2006, and then Skinwalkers at the Pentagon, which came out, I believe, in 2020, 21, something like that.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
Jay Stratton is featured prominently in both of those books. Some of the incidents that he experienced while he was on the ranch, and of course also some things that occurred to him and or his family off the ranch as well. And so to see Jay coming back, and for those who don't know, Jay was also at one time the pretty heavily involved in both the Pentagon's ATIP program, OSAP, and the UAP task force at the Pentagon before he retired from active duty. And he is now in the public sector and works for a company. And but I got to meet Jay Stratton in person at PhenomeCon, and I also got to meet his wife Michelle. And I got to tell you, Roger, they are two of my absolute favorite people. Um, Mainly because me being a musician, of course, I always want to fraternize and hang out with musicians because they're my people. And Jay is a musician, and he's a guitar player. And as many of you that may have seen my PhenomeCon videos, I got Jay and several other people at Skinwalker Ranch and some other folks within the whole community, if you will, that are also musicians that I think are rock stars, like Pete Kelsey. Okay, loved getting a chance to meet Pete Kelsey. He is literally the coolest guy, and he is truly a rock star, literally in his own right. Back in the 80s, man, he opened for bands like Cheap Trick. I mean, just the guy is just truly a rock star in every sense. And then you got guys like Eric Bard and Travis Taylor and Jay Stratton, who being a traditional rock star music wise may not be something that they would ascribe themselves to, but they are rock stars in my book because of the integrity and the experience that they bring to trying to figure all of this out, and just the way that they conduct themselves, the way that they elevate the discourse, as we always hear Eric and Caleb talk about. These are guys that, to me, I think are going to be instrumental and have been instrumental in helping us figure out what all of these mysteries are all about. And so for me, getting to meet Jay and get to know him and to talk to him about music. I think I spent more time talking to Jay about music and guitars than I did about anything pertaining to Skinwalker Ranch. And for me, that's okay, because I just I got a good sense of the kind of person that he was. I got to watch Jay interacting with people that did come up and just simply strike up a conversation, ask him very frankly about his experiences when he was running the programs, and when he'd been at Skinwalker Ranch and all that. And Jay, I can say categorically, is one of my favorite people. He is a good man. He's a man who faithfully served and protected my country, which I will always be grateful for. And I think that with his involvement, or at least with his input in some of the things that are going on at the ranch, I think that's only a good thing. And how lucky would we be if somebody, my wish list would be if we could get somebody like Jay Stratton to run Arrow now that Sean Kirkpatrick has left the office. I would love to see somebody like a like a Jay Stratton get into that role if he'd ever be able to be enticed to get back into that madness that we call government. But that was one of my high points, was seeing Jay Stratton come back on the ranch. And again, speaking of Pete Kelsey, his imaging software has just uncovered so many amazing things. And we're talking about the data, and that's the one thing that really sets the Secret of Skinwalker Ranch apart from every other show out there, particularly that other show that shall remain unnamed, that takes place about 30 miles or so to the north of the ranch, that is not based in science. It's based on, well, let's just be honest, it's a treasure hunt. But whereas with Skinwalker Ranch, the treasure is knowledge, it's data, and they don't have to dramatize any of what they're doing at Skinwalker Ranch, because the stuff that happens there naturally is pretty dramatic and significant in and of itself, that you don't need to script anything when it comes to it. And quite obviously, we can't say the same thing about a lot of other shows that are out there. So reboot that whole narrative, folks, that anything you've read about Skinwalker Ranch up to this point, I can attest it is definitely not a scripted show. They are doing legitimate scientific research. And as Travis Taylor and Eric Bard have told me and the other insiders multiple times, there is going to be papers published for peer review very soon. They are doing everything the right way. And those of you that are getting discouraged because it seems to be taking so freaking long, well, you have to make sure that you're taking the time and getting the data and parsing through it, getting the right bits of information out of it to falsify or verify the hypotheses that you have to make when you're engaged in this kind of an endeavor. So people that are getting impatient, all that I can tell you is be patient, stay the course, and just have, I know it's hard for some of you to make this leap of faith, but put your faith and put your trust in the team that is out there, because they are doing it the right way, and they're doing it for the right reasons. Brandon Fugel has assembled a truly all-star team of people that the greatest value that all of them have is their integrity. And when they get something wrong, as evidenced by Dr. Travis Taylor, he made a call regarding one of the episodes that ran this season. And when he realized that he got it wrong, what did he do? He didn't sidestep it. He didn't try to pretend that he didn't pass off blame. He just simply said, sometimes we get it wrong. And that's the nature of science. You sometimes think that you're headed in the right direction or that you have it figured out. And then you realize, well, we didn't get that right. And the mere fact that he was able to confront that head on and own up to it, there's not a lot of other people that are engaged in this particular kind of topic that have the cojones, that have the balls, or more accurately, the integrity to do that. These are men of good character, and I think we have a great team out there, and I cannot wait to see what season 5 brings. And season 5 is in fact coming. We don't know when specifically, but it will be in 2024. my guess, and this is strictly my personal speculation, is it'll probably be sometime between April and May that season 5 will air. But it is coming, and at PhenomeCon, the team at Skinwalker Ranch told us that this next season is going to really be something else. It's like it's been building. Every season is, 1 degree or multiple degrees better and more astounding than the previous seasons. It's been like that slow build. So stick around, folks, because it's going to get a lot more interesting and a lot more exciting out there at Skinwalker Ranch. And as I say it, I know I sound like a broken record. I think the world of the team, Thomas and Dragon, of course, our very dear friend Caleb, and Travis and Eric, Jay Stratton, the new team that they've got out there. I think they're called, is it Omnitech? I may have the name wrong, but they introduced a new group of scientists, including one of the guys whose job it was to run the International Space Station. You know, that there you go. How much more credentialed can you get? A guy that
Right.
ran the International Space Station for a period of time, and so we have all the right people out there. All the right pieces are in place. It's just a matter of getting the data, and they keep adding more and new cutting edge technology to observe the ranch. They're constantly installing new cameras and sensor arrays. So I think we are going to only find out more. And yes, the more we learn, there's probably going to be more questions raised. But the fact is, we're seeing progress being made, and maybe that doesn't come and filter down to us as quickly as we'd like to, but I assure you it is coming. And of course, the other big exciting news that we learned a few weeks ago is that Caleb Bench is writing a book about his experiences on Skinwalker Ranch, and that should be coming sometime this next year in 2024. We're going to have Caleb on the podcast very soon to talk about that. So we'll say stay tuned for that. But again, we absolutely love Skinwalker Ranch and the guys that are out there, and we hope that all of you guys do as well. So the next thing I thought we'd cover, Raj, is again David Grusch. Just real quickly, kind of give me your thoughts on David Grusch, and how much you've been following what he's been coming out with lately.
So, unfortunately, I haven't been able to keep up with all the latest news as I'd like to, due to the personal circumstances. But what I will say about David Grusch is, in my research of him, and as Jim alluded to earlier, his military career, his career in the government, impeccable, right? He is a man of integrity, and a lot goes into that. A lot says about his character for how you conduct yourself on that professional level. And so I absolutely do believe the claims that he is making. He's not being paid for this. He's staking his reputation, his family's reputation on making these fantastic claims. And right, like there's just been there are so many people out there that just jump on the opportunity to tear people down, right? And so for him going out there, putting his career on the line, um, you know, that's bravery, that's courage right there. And so I'm looking forward to hearing more about the things that he knows, and the things that he can tell us that are unclassified. And I would definitely, and I really want to see David, and also the other whistleblowers that are coming out, testify in front of Congress, and be able to meet with the senators in a skiff or whatnot, to divulge that information. Right? Because I think that our government, and literally all the governments on the earth, have we as a people, humanity has a right to know if we're being visited by intelligences, whether those intelligences are extraterrestrial from another planet, from space, they're interdimensional and they enter here, or if they've just been here and we've coexisted and we just don't know about it, right? Like, I don't have the answers, but I do believe that the people that run this world owe it to humanity and the people all around the world that are having these strange experiences. We do have a right to know. Um, right? Absolutely believe that we share the resources of our world with other people, and you know, I for one would like to get to the bottom of it, and I know many of you as well. So I am looking forward to more testimony, and it's unfortunate that the world the way it is right now, with the different wars that are happening and the people that are dying, you know, definitely, I pray for our world, and it makes me sad to see the violence and the things that are happening to millions upon millions of people across the earth. I wish that we would not be so warlike, and that would really allow us as humanity to focus on things that are greater than ourselves. So I really hope that we can continue to focus on those things, but also take care of our fellow men.
Well said. Well said. I agree with David Grusch. He is probably the most historically significant whistleblower ever to come forward. And now you can throw Bob Lazar in there as well, but as we know, there are still a lot of things that are difficult to verify regarding Bob Lazar's claims that he came forward. Now, I tend to believe a lot of what Bob says, but there are other things that do present more of a challenge to accept at face value. Um, Not at all saying that Bob Lazar is an outright liar or fabricator. I wouldn't say that at all. I think he had good reasons for coming forward when he did, and as we've seen, a lot of the things that he did claim that people initially dismissed him for have turned out to be exactly true as he described them back in 1989. Um, David Grusch, however, is of a completely different sort of not only the circumstances that he came forward, but also the stuff that he has prepared to to be brought forward, and that's the big thing. And David Grusch, the thing with him is that he followed the proper protocol internally within the offices that he was appointed to. He did everything that he was supposed to. He cleared everything before he went public with it. And in the instances, as we saw both at the congressional hearing and in subsequent interviews that he's done with the media, when there's something that he cannot say because he is still under oath, he is still bound to the clearances and the NDAs that he had to accept to be read into the programs that he is a part of. He's very clearly said, "Look, I cannot tell you that because it would be a violation of my code of conduct, of my violation of the NDAs that I agreed to, and it would land him in prison." And that's
Right.
just it. This guy, like Bob Lazar, he's not profiting from this. In fact, it has wrecked his life, and David Grusch is very open about that. He has had retaliation, and that's part of the reason why his case has become so profile. And like Bob Lazar, David Grusch went public as a way to protect himself, to get his name out there, to get his face out there, get his story out there, because you have to understand the machinations involved by the organizations that are and have been suppressing this information for what looks like at least 90 years, because that was one of the things that we learned during David Grusch's testimony in Congress, was that Roswell, which is often credited as being the genesis of the modern day UFO subject, was not the first. It was not the first time that the U.S. government was aware of there being something from someone or somewhere else. And going clear back to the 1930s, and in a recent interview with Tucker Carlson, and I know that some of you are going to recoil in terror because I said the word Tucker Carlson, and I myself, I really don't care. I don't follow people like Tucker Carlson. I just tend not to like most journalists in general. But I have to tell you, if you have not watched this recent interview that David Grusch did with Tucker Carlson, you should. And if your refusal to watch it is because you don't like Tucker Carlson's viewpoints on other things in politics, then you are a fool, because the interview is an absolute gold mine of information where Tucker Carlson asks all the right questions, and David Grusch is the most forthcoming we've ever seen, including more descriptive than he was during the congressional testimony. There were still things that David Grusch couldn't reveal to Tucker Carlson, and he spelled them all out. But we did get quite a bit more detail out of what David Grusch knows and the things that he himself has seen than we have in the past. So David Grusch is apparently going to be doing, my understanding, he's going to be writing an op-ed in the coming weeks after the first of the year, and it will be really interesting to see what he puts in that op-ed. But trust me, folks, if there's one person you should be paying attention to, it's David Grusch. He is the real deal. He appears to be a man of integrity, and like you said, Roger, I have no reason yet to mistrust or question anything that he has said thus far, because everything that he has said has been backed up by multiple sources, including the intelligence community and the ICIG itself, plus the character testimony of people that worked with him, that worked for him. One of whom, somebody that I happen to know, who worked with David Grusch, who speaks very highly of him and says everything he's telling you is the truth as he knows it. So very exciting time to be alive to watch this all unfold. And to segue into our next topic would be the Schumer amendments, the UAPDA amendment that was wrapped into the National Defense Authorization Act that was passed recently. It's because of Grusch's testimony in Congress that Senator Schumer, the senior senator from New York, as well as Senator Rounds from, I believe, South Dakota. So you've got Schumer, who's a hardcore Democrat, lifelong staunch Democrat from my home state of New York. And then you've got a Republican, Senator Rounds from one of the Dakotas. And that's just a little characterization of how this is one topic, the UAP UFO topic, is something that has truly got not only bipartisan support, Roger, but it's got bicameral support. And for those of you that don't know what that term is, bicameral means both houses of Congress, both the House of Representatives and the Senate. You have an overwhelming support, bipartisan, both Democrat and Republican, left and right, that are willing to work together on this project. Name me another topic in our current American society, Roger, where you have that kind of bipartisan and bicameral support or unity as this UAP UFO topic. And I think you'd be rather hard pressed to find another topic where is this much widespread support. And so what's significant about this amendment that Schumer and Rounds put forward is that created all kinds of provisions that if they had been passed as they were written, we would have been able to, among other things, all UFO records that the United States government, every agency, all the three-letter agencies and otherwise that had any information on what we would call legacy UFO events, which of course would include things like Roswell, Kecksburg, Cape Girardeau, Gulf Breeze, Florida, you name it, the Kingman, Arizona crash, Aztec, whatever, that the government would have to release them, and anything that is 25 years or older needs to be released under Freedom of Information Act for the public to know about, because they believe the public has a right to know. There would have been a review panel established to basically review current UAP UFO cases for declassification, because there is a belief that there is an overclassification problem in the government right now pertaining to this particular subject. Case in point, the UFO UAP flap with the so-called Chinese balloons that happened earlier this year, that's another huge story. We still, as the American public, don't know anything. We haven't been shown any of these craft, except for the one image of the one balloon that was shot down by an Air Force or missile, whatever you want to call it. We still don't know anything, except we got some people are saying, well, they weren't balloons and some of them were balloons. Okay, great. Well, here we are, we're almost a full year later and we still don't know anything. That's unacceptable. And so this panel that would have been established according to the provision in the bill would have made the speed of declassification come a lot easier and a lot quicker. Just would have been a great thing to have. It also would have given greater protection to whistleblowers willing to come forward, immunity from prosecution, among other things. It would have given defense contractors, past and present, that had any knowledge or that are currently involved in programs to come forward to Congress and to let them know what materials they have, how they came into their possession, and what they are doing with them. And that including biological specimens or beings, if you will. Because again, that was one of the things that David Grusch specifically mentioned, was that in some of these crash recoveries, there were bodies of non-human origin. In other words, they were not human. They didn't look like us. Now, they have stopped short. He never uses the term extraterrestrial. They say non-human intelligence because, again, could they be extraterrestrial? Of course they could be. But they could also be something else entirely. They could be interdimensional. They could be something that we would historically call an angel or a demon, or they could be a unknown race of being, intelligent and advanced intelligent race of being that has always resided here on planet Earth, that are every bit as native to this planet as we are. And maybe though that could account for all the UFO sightings going clear back to biblical and pre-biblical times. So
Yeah.
we just don't know. So that is why they use the term NHI, or non-human intelligence. Now, of course, the easy thing is for most people to say, oh, it's extraterrestrial, it's ET, it's aliens. Well, yes, that certainly could be the case with some of them, for all we know, but that may not be the catch-all. And we should be careful about not letting ourselves fall into the trap of believing that everything pertaining to UAP crash retrievals is extraterrestrial in nature, because it may be far more complicated than that simple description. And that's one of the things that Grusch and several others that have come forward have made abundantly clear, is that we're calling them NHIs right now because, quite frankly, with some of them, we don't know where they're from. Now, in the Tucker Carlson interview, Grusch did say that there is one or two, he alluded to, that where they do know a little bit about where the origin of one or two of these particular crash retrievals and the beings that were recovered, where they originated from. But he says he's not ready to comment on that, and maybe they don't know exactly, but still, the overall point being is that, and Grusch has said this, we are not alone. Humanity is not alone. Now, does that mean, again, that we have civilizations from other parts of the universe or the galaxy coming to visit us? Does it mean that we have interdimensional beings that occupy perhaps the same space, but they're just in a different dimension and we can't see them and perceive them with our natural senses? Or are they, again, what has been referred to as crypto-terrestrial or ultra-terrestrial, which means are they a race of something that is not human, but that they've been here on planet Earth all along with us, and because of their superior intellect and their superior technology, they're largely able to stay concealed from us. We just don't know. But the key takeaway is that, guess what, folks? We are not alone. Our government has been involved in, as David Grusch clarified in this Tucker Carlson interview, that the secrecy that was afforded and the same structure of secrecy that was used for the Manhattan Project, okay? The atomic bomb was the most closely guarded secret ever in the history of the United States. Nobody knew about it. It was so compartmentalized. And Grusch says that when it became obvious that we were dealing with something that was, not human, which they knew clear back in the 1940s and earlier than that, that they then basically shifted that same type of organization of secrecy and classification that was with the Manhattan Project over to the UAP project, which is why it has been able to stay so hidden and why they've been able to do plausible deniability, because it's so compartmentalized that they can answer truthfully. That, you know, your average person that's there and, you know, pick whatever 3-letter or 4-letter agency of the United States government and ask them, do you have information on crashed UFOs and recovered bodies of non-human intelligent beings? And they can answer no. And let's get down right to it. They are answering truthfully when they do so, because if they haven't been read into it, then they wouldn't know, and they would only know what they can verify with what they have access to. So we're learning right now that there are people currently in the government and current defense contractors. One of them was called out as being Lockheed Martin, and we can probably assume, or speculate, I should say, that there are some other current well-known defense contractors that probably have a history of involvement with this as well. But where it goes from here, Roger, now that the UAP amendment was essentially gutted, and who was it gutted by? Well, it's not too difficult to see. You had Mike Turner, and Mike Turner is, forgive me, a Republican, and I'm not trying to say this to be anti-Republican. Mike Turner is a Republican whose district is where? Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. His campaign contributors, his biggest campaign contributors, are people like Lockheed Martin and defense contractors. Do you think that maybe there's a conflict of interest, that maybe these people that are keeping him in office are saying, do whatever you can to shut that thing down? And so you got Mike Turner. There's the new Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, played a role in shutting this down. Senator Mitch McConnell, who I don't have a lot of good things to say about, but I'll leave it at that.
He is an extraterrestrial, I guarantee you.
He's something, I'll tell you what. And just to be fair, folks, I don't like Chuck Schumer either. I'm an independent, or as I like to tell people, because I was born and raised in New York, I will never be a Democrat. And because I've lived in Utah for the last 30 years, I will never be a Republican. So I am an independent politically. I see good and bad to both sides. I just look at the issue and the people that are pushing the issues. And so that notwithstanding, Schumer's bill, Schumer and Rounds, their bill, had it been passed in the form that it was there, would have been historically significant and would have really put some teeth and enforcement behind Congress trying to regain control of these black programs, these unacknowledged special access programs, or USAPs, that operate above the oversight of Congress, which is against the law. It violates the Constitution of the United States. And as you were saying, Roger, all of the United States, if not all of humanity, has a right to know, are we really alone in this world? If the answer is we are not alone, then we have a right to know that, we as humanity. And we have a right to know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. There are some people that are saying that there's a very dark side, saying that, you know, people might not be able to handle the truth. And yes, let's be honest, there are probably some people out there whose religious beliefs or spiritual beliefs will not allow them to believe that they are not at the top of the food chain, spiritually, theologically, and intellectually speaking. But then you have people that, you know, really just want to know. And I myself, I'd want to know the truth. If we are not the be all end all of the universe, which I've never thought that we were as human beings, and even if we're not on this planet, I think we have a right to know. If the situation is a dire situation, one where they're just simply biding their time until some massive invasion happens and they subjugate us all into slavery, don't we have a right? Shouldn't we have a right to know about something, you know, as far-fetched as that? Are they here to help us? Are they here to, you know, why are they here? And I'm still convinced that if you get some of the best and brightest minds out there that are not probably involved in these programs, you need to get the public's view and the public's eyes on this, because this is something that will not I don't think it will have a shattering effect on society. I think, if anything, it will probably bring us together, including our adversaries, including the psychos like Putin over in Russia, and the Chinese, and the morons over there in North Korea. You let this information come out, this has the potential to unite humanity, not further divide us and separate us. Look at what it's doing in our own Congress, Roger. I mean, look at how it's brought. In one instance, during that David Grusch testimony, you had Senator, AOC, Representative AOC, who was about as progressive left liberal as you can get, in a meeting with Representative Matt Gaetz, who was about as far to the right conservative as you can get. And they were all in agreement on, we've got to get to the bottom of this. And why has this been held from the American people? We've got to get to the bottom of this. We've got to help hold people accountable for it. And so when you see something like that, somebody like an AOC and a Matt Gaetz, who could not be further apart on the political and cultural spectrum, but yet they're brought together to accomplish one same singular goal, which is to get to the bottom of this, not just for the American people, but really for everybody, every man, woman, and child on planet Earth. And that's me on my soapbox.
Fully
but
agree. Fully agree.
but significant. And so David Grusch, again, probably one of the biggest stories, and the UAP amendment, which did get passed, but in a very, very, very watered down version, thanks to again, Mike Turner and Mitch McConnell and Mike Johnson. And there's another Mike in there that I know I'm forgetting about, but still. But what is happening now, what people are saying, is that because of that, more whistleblowers are now going to start coming forward, and there's talk of what they call catastrophic disclosure, Raj. And what that means is that we're going to start seeing leaks of classified information. And maybe it'll come in the form of like what we saw happen with Snowden, with WikiLeaks kind of thing. But we're going to start seeing people willing to take the risk of coming forward, perhaps violating their NDAs, and saying, look, if you're going to cut off the channels for us to be able to release this in an ethical and proper manner, then we're going to go around you, and we're going to find a way to make it happen, even if that means compromising the some of the agreements that these people made, which is why it's so important that we have to protect these whistleblowers. And I think this term catastrophic disclosure might become a bigger buzzword as we head into 2024. So we know that there's at least a dozen more whistleblowers that have worked or currently are working in these UFO UAP recovery programs, that have firsthand, hands-on knowledge, meaning that they themselves are working on these craft, these materials, or they have performed the autopsies on these alleged NHI bodies that have been recovered as well. And so for that, Raj, that pretty well sums up what's happened in 2023 in regards to the UAP UFO phenomena. I don't think we have ever had a year quite like 2023, and I think 2024 promises to be every bit as exciting, if not more so. We're still waiting on some of the things like this long promised book that Lou Elizondo has been working on. Really waiting for that. And of course, I mentioned earlier the book that Caleb Bench is working on. Can't wait to find out the things that Caleb's going to be telling us about. So let's segue into 2024, Raj. What are some of the things that we can share with our viewers and our fans here that we're going to do to build out the soul of the unexplained? What are some of your ideas? What are some of the things you think that we should do?
So, yeah, definitely. As Jim and I have talked over the past several months, we definitely want to, one, commit to you guys to be posting more. We're looking to do multiple short videos per week just to cap or recap the news type of things. Even maybe, some short videos on YouTube or messages on Facebook, just capturing our thoughts, what's going on in the news, paranormal, UFO, Bigfoot, cryptozoology, all that kind of stuff. we also, and Jim, you can maybe talk about this a little bit more, but Jim has made a lot of really good connections through PhenomeCon and networking there. So we do have some really good people that are willing to come onto our show. So we're super excited to introduce some new people and also bring people back like Jeff Freeman, Caleb Bench, and revisit some of the stuff there. We're also excited to kind of delve into some new territory and talk about things that we have not talked about in the past. I know I would like to. This happened over a year ago, but I'd like to get our viewers and our listeners to take a look at the video my son and I shot over a year ago that is really unexplainable, where there are orbs that are self-illuminating in the sky doing strange things, which is backed up even further by a professional photographer who presented at PhenomeCon 2 years ago, and literally the same type of self-illumination. Mine happened at night, theirs happened during the day. But I'd like to talk more about those types of things, and it's just some of the not so common things in the world of the paranormal. But I think we have a lot to offer, so stay tuned. We are going to be doing a lot more content, and definitely, if you like what you see here or you've heard and checked out our stuff in the past, please share the Soul of the Unexplained with your family and your friends, and let them know that this is a safe place to interact. And Jim and I look forward to growing our channel exponentially this year, or next year, I should say, in 2024.
Here, here, here. Right on, Raj. I agree. So we're looking forward to doing some more shorter video content like I did when I was at PhenomeCon, just to kind of like recap whatever big news or happenings go on throughout the week. We are going to expand into other topics that we haven't addressed full episodes to, topics like maybe Sasquatch. I want to do an episode on shadow people, Raj. It's time
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
confront that sumbitch head on for me, I think. And we're going to get some guests. Roger mentioned people that I was able to make contact with at PhenomeCon. People like Chris Bartell and of course Caleb Bench, and would love to get both of them on at the same time. How would that be to have one of the security officers that was there during the Bigelow era and one of the security officers that's there now? And I can tell you, both Chris Bartell and Caleb Bench are just the coolest guys. They are men of utmost integrity, and just think the world of both of them. And I'm excited to get both of them on. We'll probably do some roundtables. We'll get some of our listeners and fans to come on and join us, and we'll just pick a topic and just kind of riff on it and give people an opportunity to share what their thoughts are on, really any given topic. Probably do an episode. We promised for a while to do one on Bigfoot and cryptids. I guess we learned a bit about that, and at PhenomeCon this year, I finally got to meet Ronnie LeBlanc. He was really cool. So all kinds of cool things coming up, and like Roger said, we're going to be a lot better. Sometimes life gets in the way, and we can't maybe do it as often as we want to, but we're going to do things where we're going to have other people like this last year when Roger wasn't able to join me. I was able to bring in May or Ron Hubbard and some other friends of mine that are always willing to come on and talk to us and be a guest and to help join me in a discussion. So there will be times when maybe only Roger can be there and Roger will lead it, and there will be times when only I can be there. But we do promise to bring you a lot more top rate content, and I'll try not to talk too much as I always do. That's
You're
the
great, Jim.
it's
You're
it's
great.
the it's the curse of being a Kel guard from New York, right? But a couple of thanks. I do want to. Here we are at the end of the year. I want to issue some very personal thanks to people that I crossed paths with, mainly at PhenomeCon, but also elsewhere. And this is not going to be a complete list, so if I leave anybody out, please don't take it personally. But starting with Jeff Freeman, I want to offer my thanks and gratitude to Jeff. He is truly one of the finest and kindest, most compassionate, and just absolute honest people I've ever met. He is a very good friend. He is truly a valuable asset to this whole topic of the unknown. And it's been an absolute pleasure to get to know him and to become good friends with him and to participate. He's had me on his show as a guest and co-host numerous times throughout this past year. And it was truly an honor for me to be able to be there with him and with Seth Bridges, another person who I want to tip my hat to. Seth is another awesome guy. Think the world of him. Love the guy. Seth Bridges, just super cool dude. Also want to give a shout out to, of course, Caleb Bench. Caleb was nice enough to come and spend some time with Roger and I for a day earlier in the year, and we had a great time hanging out with him and talking with him and just learning all kinds of cool things that he's been involved with, including the book that he's writing. And so we again tip our hat as a nod of respect to Caleb, and we love and appreciate him for everything he does. And really, thanks to everybody at Skinwalker Ranch. Dragon, who I found out, Roger, is a Raiders fan. How about that? And
Nice.
so, of course, me being a lifelong Raiders fan, I got to give props to my fellow Raiders fans. Sorry. But, of course, to Travis Taylor and to Eric Bard, to Brandon Fugel, Cameron Fugel, Tom Lewis, Candace Lindy, Uncle
Tom
Jim,
Winterton.
Uncle Jim, of course, and yes, Tom Winterton and Melissa Winterton. I got to give a big shout out to Melissa because I attended Melissa's meditation and it really had a profound positive impact on me. Melissa is truly a wonderful soul and had a great opportunity to get to know her a little bit as well. And can't wait to speak with her again sometime. Also to some of the great folks I met at PhenomeCon, such as Marilee and Kathy and oh gosh, there was Annie and John Nyberger, who I just think the world of. He's a Broncos fan, but you know I'm willing and able to look past that.
Yeah,
John,
I'm a
you are one of
Packers
the
fan.
coolest guys. John is also a big music guy and a guitar player who's extremely talented. In fact, there's some talk of me and John and Dennis Clark, another one who I met who lives in Denver. I don't know if he's a Broncos fan though. So, but either way, Dennis Clark is really cool. Dennis is also a musician, and there's talk of maybe trying to organize an impromptu jam with some of us musician guys out at PhenomeCon this next year, and maybe we can get Jay Stratton and some other guys to join us. Who knows? But again, Jay Stratton and his all absolutely awesome wife Michelle, who is also one of the moderators on Skinwalker Ranch Insider. Think the world of Michelle. She is just such a wonderful person, and I have so much to be grateful for. She was able to help make it possible for me to get all those signatures from the Skinwalker Ranch guys on my Gretsch guitar, which now occupies a special place in my studio here. So massive tip of the hat to Michelle and to Jay, who I just think the world of. Also to the Ronnie LeBlanc and Mike Ricksecker, who was the shadow person guy that we talked about. Hope to get him on the podcast. He did express an interest, so we'd love to maybe involve him in that discussion that we want to have about shadow people. Mike gave some great presentations at PhenomeCon. Of course, Greg Lawson, the author, who wrote some amazing stuff, including an absolute must-read called Roswell: The After Report. One of the best books I've ever read about the Roswell incident. And Greg is just one of the coolest, funniest guys to have around. Think the world of Greg. And we hope to get him on here very soon. James Keenan is another one. We think highly of James Keenan, and we'd love to maybe get his input on some things. Terry Carter, our good friend, runs a great YouTube channel for those of you that are into the treasure hunting and some of the old legends of the Intermountain West out here. Big tip of the hat to him. And of course to Shannon DeSalvo, who is just another awesome soul. Heather Jean, one of the moderators at Skinwalker Ranch Insider, and the member support guys at Skinwalker Ranch Insider, who I finally had the opportunity to meet at PhenomeCon, Ryan and Dave, and just awesome guys. These guys are really, really cool, and the job that they do is often a thankless job, but they do a tremendous job in keeping the Skinwalker Ranch Insider program, growing, and a wonderful community to be a part of. And a tip of my hat to all of the people that came to the special get together that Roger and I, well, again, Roger wasn't able to be there, but the party that we hosted the day before PhenomeCon at the Vernal Brewing Company, just met some really wonderful people there. Joanne, among others, just so many great people there. Truly, folks, if you really want to get the most out of Skinwalker Ranch, I cannot promote or say enough good things about the Skinwalker Ranch Insider Program. To find out more about it, go to skinwalker-ranch.com, and you can try it out for free for a week to see if you like it. And after that, if you want to be a part of it, you can do either a monthly membership. I think it's what, $10 a month, or you can do a yearly subscription. If you sign up for the yearly subscription, you actually get a cool t-shirt, which I myself don't have because I do the monthly. But you get absolutely amazing access to Skinwalker Ranch. You get access to the team members. They come on Discord, the Discord server for the Insider Program. Eric does great presentations. You can watch the ranch 24/7 from several cameras that are positioned on the ranch. And of course, you can have access to some of the data that's out there as well that the public does not get to see. You also get to participate in the Q&A sessions, the chips and salsa, as we like to call it, where you get to have an exclusive access to the team members talking about their experiences out there on the ranch. If you're a Skinwalker Ranch fan or you have an interest in it, there's no better way to get involved and be a part of the team, really, than to join the Skinwalker Ranch Insider Program. So with that, again, thanks everybody. If I've left anybody out, I truly apologize. I didn't mean to leave anybody out, but so many great people crossed paths with me this year. I just want to express my gratitude. A shout out to B. Jones and to Kelly as well. Just great people. Thank you so much for welcoming me in to not only the insider community, but the community that Jeff Freeman has built. Linda, who is of course Jeff Freeman's moderator, Linda Simpson. I cannot say enough kind or nice things about Linda. Love you dearly, Linda. Thank you for helping me welcoming me in and helping me be a part of the wonderful community that you and Jeff have built for both the Curse of Oak Island and the Secret of Skinwalker Ranch crowd. Truly, so many wonderful individuals. This is really a great community of people. Roger and I are so blessed and grateful for being a part of it. And we are so looking forward to what we can bring you in 2024. We hope you all had a very wonderful holiday. And from the bottom of my heart, most sincerely, I wish all of you a very happy, healthy, safe, and prosperous new year. And hope that 2024 brings you much more happiness, success, and joy than you have had in 2023. Hopefully 2024 will be everybody's good year. And with that, folks, Raj, I'll leave it to you to tie it up.
All right, thank you, Jim. Again, thank you, everybody. We absolutely appreciate all of you. Thank you for taking the time to listen to our thoughts, our opinions, providing us feedback. And as ever, we appreciate your friendship and for the kind things that you do, not only to Jim and I, but to other people that live throughout this world. We hope you all have a very safe, happy new year, and that you have a prosperous 2024. Again, my name is Roger Stokes. This is my co-host, Jim Kelgard, and we look forward to touching base with you a lot in 2024. And with that, Jim, take us on out.
Alrighty, folks, we will see you in 2024. If you like what you see here, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell down below here on YouTube. And feel free to comment and come and say hello to us over on Facebook as well. We are the Soul of the Unexplained, and that is soul as in SOL, and not necessarily because SOL stands for shit out of luck, but, well, in 2023, it sure meant that sometimes, didn't it, Raj?
It did.
But the Soul of the Unexplained on Facebook, and of course, right here on YouTube. We also are on Twitter, or X as they call it now, and we are on Instagram, but we're not anywhere near as active on either Instagram or X as we are on Facebook and YouTube. So again, folks, thanks for watching. It's been an awesome 2023. Thanks to all of you. We love and appreciate you all, and we will see you in 2024. See ya.